So, but
Tuesday. It's Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. It's Tuesday. You know what day it is. It's Show Me the
trick
Money
or
Club
treat.
live Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Basically, search for Show Me the Money Club or the Rideshare Guy. You'll find us and our happy little faces. It's candy day, so everybody out there going to get some candy, or if you're driving, be safe, especially with the kids out there. If you're East Coast, obviously trick-or-treating has started already. If you're West Coast, it's going to be starting very soon. So again, if you're out there driving, just please be careful, especially in neighborhoods where there are a lot of trick-or-treaters. We don't want to hear any issues or any problems like that. But it is a great day to go out there and make some money. This past weekend, we had a lot of drivers making money throughout the country. So when you can get out there on those few holidays, we're going to be talking about that. Just make sure you can get out there and get it. Sergio, how you doing?
Trick or treat.
I
It's
choose
all
treat.
treat. It's all treat. It was all treat this weekend. We're going to talk about it, and hopefully, it's all treat again today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So let's get into today's rundown. We have a special guest, Alex Kantrowitz, coming on. He's going to be talking about AI, autonomous vehicles, a lot of stuff along that. So it's going to be a really interesting conversation. Sergio, you've been pretty scared when it comes to AI and some of things like that. Some of the things that you sent me earlier this week saying, "Hey, watch this." I
Yeah,
did get around to watching that, and
it's
some
my
of it
rabbit
can
hole.
be
I'm
can
trying to
be
pull
a
you in
little
my
scary,
rabbit hole,
but
bro.
yeah,
I'm trying to
yep.
pull you in my rabbit hole.
Yes, well, we have him coming on in just a few minutes. Then we're going to be talking about the Halloween weekend. Obviously, a great weekend, Saturday night with a lot of parties going on. Friday sometimes, but yeah, Saturday we're going to be talking about what drivers were pulling in, what Sergio had made. I was unfortunately at a party. I could tell you about the craziness there. We could talk about that, but had nothing to do with rideshare. Then we're going to be talking about Lyft copying Uber again, but this time, one of the
Better.
things could be a little bit nicer when it comes to a Boost Plus copy, when it comes to driver bonuses. We're going to be talking about Uber Teen expanding yet again. We're going to be talking about Lyft Extra Comfort, the fares. What do they pay like? What are drivers going to be seeing? Lux, not going to be happy if you were just Lyft regular and now qualify for Extra Comfort. It's going to be a nice little pay raise for you, but how much? We're going to get into that. Then we're going to be talking about Uber and Waymo are joining forces. What's going on there? We're also going to be talking about how California DMV suspended Cruise, and then Cruise also suspends rides nationwide. So interesting there. The cone couldn't save them. And then Hertz putting the brakes on EVs. We're going to be talking about that as well. But first, we want to thank today's sponsor, Giggle. So, are you an independent contractor or gig worker seeking fast and hassle-free financing? Look no further than Giggle. We understand that time is money, and that's where we've revolutionized the way you access fund. Picture this: $5,000 in your hands as quick as 5 minutes. Yes, you heard that right. 5 minutes by simply connecting your bank account. Giggle is here to make sure you can focus on what you do best while we take care of your financial needs. Giggle, the fastest way to secure your financial future. And for your special offer, visit gigglefinance.com/rideshareguy to apply. All right, Sergio, you ready for today?
Yes, sir. This is I've been really looking forward to this. Huge fan of Alex, and I'm probably as excited as this one I was for David Risher one, to be honest with you, because
Yeah, it's
he's
it's
the
it's going to be different, a different type of conversation for sure. So it's going to be really unique, a different perspective, and I think it's going to be really beneficial for everybody watching. So
yeah.
let's talk about who Alex is. Alex is the founder of Big Technology, an independent publication that covers the inner workings of Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, and Microsoft. His email newsletter goes out to thousands of Silicon Valley decision makers each week. Let's bring him on. Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Great to see you guys.
Great.
Hey,
Thanks for
Alex,
coming
how are
on. We
you?
appreciate it.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Huge fan of yours, to be perfectly honest, and I've been really looking forward to this one, this episode for a while. And Chris introduced you obviously, but then I know you're still with CNBC, right? Or you used
I'm
to
a
be with CNBC
CNBC contributor. So I
contributor.
basically go on air exclusively with them about once a week to talk about the latest in big tech.
Cool. And I know you also wrote a book. Let's talk a few seconds about your book.
The book is called Always Day One. It is a
Oh,
look into the inner workings of Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, and Google. I mean, I guess they have new names now, some of them since I wrote it, right? Meta and Alphabet, or Alphabet was already Alphabet. But anyway, let's not get into semantics. It's basically a book asking why have these giant tech companies been able to stay inventive, really, that is reversing the traditional method of a big company, which as they get bigger, they get slower, sluggish, they fall apart, they get dominated by competitors. And I found that there's something inside these companies that allows them to stay reinventive, to decide that whatever they, their flagship product that they have today is not going to be what's going to get them to the finish line or even help them stay sustainable. And I went through these 5 companies and looked at what the secret sauce was within them that allows them to reinvent over and over and over again. And that's why always day one is sort of a wink at that, right? It's always day one. Not that you have to keep working your butt off as like, as if it's your first day, but I mean, I guess that too, but really you have to approach each day as if it's your first, not caring really what got you there. It's all about what the market needs right now and how do you go and build that.
yeah, and there's quite a bit of similarities between those companies and what we do. Uber, obviously, right? Uber being the giant in the rideshare world. They had this transition obviously from Travis to Dara, right? Have you interviewed any of them or both of them?
No, neither of them have come on. I've had Emil Michael, the former Uber
Oh,
executive,
okay.
on a few times on the show. Travis, I don't think does much media or any media anymore at all, for reasons that you guys probably know well. And I doubt Dara will come on my show ever.
Why is
If he
that?
does, he's because I don't think CEOs are interested in facing critical questions anymore. And I think that Dara knows that he'll get them on the show.
Yeah,
And so that's why I don't think he'll ever come on. I mean, I've definitely put in requests to Uber. They know that I'm well versed with the company.
yeah.
They haven't responded kindly or at all really to those requests. And so, again, I'm gonna make it here again. Dara, if you ever want to come on, open invitation, but I don't expect him to join.
Well, that counts for both of us, Dara. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now we kind of are failing at that too because we're trying. I mean, we're in touch with these companies obviously, but although David Risher was, I give him all the credit. He was on with us a couple of weeks ago live,
yep,
which is, for a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. I mean, why he didn't have to do it, but he did it, and he came and listened and hopefully learned. Let's stick with Uber for a couple of minutes, and obviously you've studied these companies and from their inception all the way to where they are now. I mean, the companies don't even look like what they were because they were living in some sort of subsidized fantasy land, right? The passenger was in subsidized fantasy land. Companies were just, I don't know, 30, 40 billion dollars, VC money. They keep pulling. I mean, they're probably, I think Uber is the only company that has lost that much money in the history of of corporate America before they turned a profit last quarter, right? So what is your opinion of Uber? I mean, just be frank, and because our audience is 99.9% drivers, right?
right.
And I put a lot of drivers into we have 3 unions, by the way, here, Alex. One is the
Hmm.
Cherry Pickers United. We call it CPU, which is me, because I decline 9 out of 10 trips. The other
Okay.
one is called Ant Formica United, which is ants are the guys that accept every single trip. Okay, they just accept, which what Uber wants, and we don't want to do that. And then the third one we created now is called CDU, which is Complaining Drivers United. And it seems like every video we put out, that everybody's complaining these days. But let's hear your opinion. I'm sure you're a passenger on all these apps, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, look, it's a tough business. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think that this business was built initially on more of a dream that you could use the phone to reinvent any business, and that includes the taxi business, and they did. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you can reinvent it with better margins or better conditions for drivers. And I think that's played out for Uber without a doubt. The food delivery business, and you guys can help fill in the gaps here, but from the outside looking in, it seems like the food delivery business is going to be the more profitable, cash cow for Uber over the long run, in the way that the passenger service has not been, and that has given Wall Street a little bit of hope. It's probably helped Dara buy some time as the CEO, despite his, let's say, mediocre to poor performance. And we'll have to see where it goes, but they certainly, they've accomplished things that people didn't expect. The food delivery side, they've struggled where people didn't expect. The passenger delivery side, they have been a lot slower. We're going to talk about autonomous vehicles. They've been a lot slower to roll out autonomous vehicles. I mean, the fact that we're just getting the first partnership with Waymo in October 2023 is a real surprise from from people who follow Uber. The idea that this is going to come from an outside company, not from Uber, and so late in the game. Certainly, I don't think what a lot of their backers on Wall Street and then the private sector believed would happen. And then they're also facing a tougher economy, one that's a lot more punishing to companies that have lower margins, struggled to turn a profit, have traditionally struggled to turn a profit. We're not living in the old zero interest rate era anymore, far from it, in fact, and that's all working to penalize Uber. So ultimately, as a customer, I'm happy it exists. But looking at it from a business standpoint, it's been a disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I always call these companies, Uber specifically, a cab company with an app, although they make themselves sound like, oh, we're a technology company. I'm like, not really. It's just, but I'm sure they would disagree with me. And one of the reasons Dara wouldn't come on is probably because of that. But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, without customers, obviously, there is no Uber. Without drivers, there is no Uber. So they're like kind of I call them like the perfect bookmaker, legal bookmaker, right? They're just in the middle and taking their juice, right? Taking their vig, which is called their take rate, right? Which has gone up quite a bit since they went public, because before public, they didn't care about profits. It was growth at all costs. Now they have to show the money, just like our name of the show, Show Me the Money. And in fact, yesterday I was listening to a Kara Swisher interview with Dara. He said it, Chris. He said, "Show me the money." I'm like, okay.
Oh,
yeah, he did. It was a copyright strike.
I gotta watch that now.
Yeah. So as I said, Alex, our audience is 99.9% drivers, right? So there's quite a bit of anxiety going on in our community now. As you hit on your last answer about autonomous vehicles, right? And I watched your interview with Kyle Vogt, the CEO of Cruise, twice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's not a huge fan of, for given certain reasons, he's not a huge fan of our show. I don't think he's going to come on. But you interviewed him. So what was your take when you interviewed this guy?
The number one thing that I was struck by was the ambition. I mean, to me, he came on and I said, well, it seems to me, this is my thesis. I like to come into an interview with a main question that I try to answer. And I had just spent a few weeks in San Francisco, and I had taken some cruise rides and some Waymo rides, I think totaling more than a dozen, completely driverless, no safety driver, just me and my wife, or me or us and friends, and just try to see what this was all about. I was in San Francisco for 2 weeks. I wanted to get as many of these rides as possible. And so I came into this saying that, like, it seems like you figured out San Francisco. And San Francisco, by the way, not an easy city to drive in. I lived there for 6.5 years and had a car for a couple of them. And let me tell you, some of those hills and twists and turns were extremely challenging. And, he came in guns blazing, saying that this is technology that is generalizable, meaning we figure out San Francisco. You're right. Like, it actually becomes a lot easier for us to figure out other cities. We don't have to start from scratch in every single city. And then he said the thing, so you asked, like, what struck me, and this is the ambition part, right? Then he said the thing that I left walking away with being like, oh my goodness. And he said that they're something like 10xing the amount of rides that they're giving this year, and they're going to 10x next year, and every year after that, 10x. And I mean, this guy he's a CEO of a big company, somewhat accountable. And to talk about with that level of ambition and to predict that level of exponential growth to come short of that would be, embarrassing for him and potentially risk his ability to stay in the job. And that's really what struck me. Obviously, Cruise has hit some serious speed bumps, pardon the pun, but like, it has not been a good few weeks for Cruise lately. But to me, the fact that these self-driving, the people who are behind, someone like Kyle sitting at, in the CEO seat of a company with this technology and seeing how it's been able to advance and making those type of predictions, to me, again, led to this thesis that I had, which is that this stuff is going to actually, it's going to spread faster than a lot of people anticipate.
Yeah, I mean, they went into obviously Austin, they spread out to Phoenix, albeit in a geofenced area, probably, right?
Right.
I mean,
LA as well.
which is larger and larger over the years. Look, I was in a Tesla with the latest software of FSD, right?
Hmm.
We took it like a half-hour ride. It blew me away, and it was this thing was like, oh wow, this is like it's almost better than me, right? And look, the technology is coming, but how fast? According to Kyle or Mr.
Hmm.
Vogt, he goes 10x, 10x, 10x. Well, that's crazy because there's not enough money on the planet. Because I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the economics of this. First of all, why do you think they're doing this? Why do you think they're spending? It's not for rideshare, because rideshare is not a profitable business, because an Uber driver is working for less than what a cruise is going to charge for that trip, unless cruise at some point, due to scale, they're going to
Hmm.
charge 25 cents a mile or some ridiculous number, which with an $80,000 car that they are now doesn't make sense. What is the economics behind this? Why are they like pushing so hard to do this?
Right. Well, I think you hit it on the head, which is that they are the only way this works for them is scale. And they eventually believe that they'll have economies of scale as they build more of these vehicles and get them onto the roads. And that technology becomes truly generalizable. So you can effectively drop a car anywhere in the world and it can sort of figure out how to get you from point A to point B with decent GPS. And for Kyle, why he's saying it's going to 10x, 10x, 10x is because that's sort of what it needs to work. If he's going to say anything less than that, you're right, it's potentially underwater. I mean,
Yeah.
so you need it to be everywhere, or else the vision doesn't work because you have to find some way to make back those costs. Now, is that going to be possible? I don't know. It seems difficult, but the economic reward, if you are able to do it right, seems sizable. And so that's why I think you see these companies doing it.
I have like a weird idea about all this, right? As far as autonomous vehicles are concerned. I don't think they're doing it for rideshare, honestly. I think, as we all know, we're humans, and the clock every day has 24 hours in it. Okay.
Hmm.
And through the technological changes, advancements, right? We learn how to multitask. Now we can do things a lot faster. With AI now, we're going to do things a lot faster. And to me, it's like, but create an extra, because as we know, if you're commuting to work and back, in some cases, it's like 30 to 45 minutes each way. So I'm thinking, well, we can create like another hour and a half or an hour of productivity for this human and that I think is the idea behind it, because I truly cannot see the economics as far as doing rideshare. Because if these companies like Uber are having such a difficult time turning a profit without owning the asset, it's a zero asset business model when it comes to rideshare. And these things are expensive. Well, there's 5 million drivers in the US, which is 5 million cars. There's no way Cruise or Waymo is going to put out 5 million cars. It's going to cost billions, hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah. So you're saying that there could be a personal ownership part of it as well?
Yeah.
That sounds right to me. I was just on the line with the co-CEO of Waymo, Takidra Mawakana, who's I'm going to drop an episode with her on the Big Technology podcast feed tomorrow on Wednesday, November 1st.
Okay.
And I like, because the Waymo app is pretty good. You call it
Yeah.
and you know exactly where the car is and the car finds you and you go and you take it. And then she came on the show where she's announcing this partnership with Uber.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why would you partner with Uber? Why won't you just be your own rideshare business? And she's like, we're just trying everything. We're going to find a way to make this work no matter what, whether it's a partnership with the ride hailing app, whether it is personal ownership. And I was like, personal ownership? Yeah, that's one of them. And then she also mentioned that they haven't let go of the idea of putting this stuff in trucks and seemed actually more interested in getting that side of the operation moving than I had anticipated coming in. So I think that everybody who does this sees that there is a real financial reward at the end of the tunnel if you are able to get the technology to the place where it's good enough. Whether that's rideshare, whether that's personal ownership. I mean, you're right. If you own one of these cars and you're driving to work every day and you get in and it just drives you and you can be on your laptop. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of people that would do that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, then you get into industrial uses and trucking uses. And again, the companies that get this right really do stand to benefit tremendously because, as you get deeper into it, you start to, you know, the amount of use cases, you start being like, okay, it's narrow, actually grows, it grows, it grows, it grows. And then
Yeah.
that's where you see their eyeballs turn to money signs.
Yeah, and you know, as I said, you know, our community, you know, the anxiety has started because I get quite a bit of email saying that, you know, every time Cruise announces, which is, I think their expansion plans are a lot more aggressive than Waymo's at the
Yes.
moment. You know,
Yeah.
with Kyle's 10x, obviously,
Takidra
you
wouldn't go
got
there,
to
by
do
the
what you
way.
got to do.
Yeah, I asked Takidra, I was like, Kyle said that, you know, are you going to match that? And she's like, I'm not talking that way. So you're right.
She's smart. By the way, for our audience, we're gonna leave all the all Alex's links, his YouTube channel, his all the links will be in the show notes. Please go check it out. He's awesome. I mean, I'm a huge fan of his. I listen to pretty much everything he says. But let's just jump back into our community, right?
Mm-hmm.
How long? I mean, look, Kyle is Kyle. Well, Mr. Vogt, let's call him. And maybe
Okay.
he'll show up. he you know, I mean, Uber, as you said correctly, right, and Waymo, who were arch enemies, now they're bedfellows. How did that come about? I like, you know, from suing each other for hundreds of millions, and now they're like, you can call a Waymo in Arizona within the app. I'm like,
Yeah,
so
it's a
they're
great
coming to
question.
replace every rideshare driver. Is that what you think is going to happen? Not every, at least 10-20%.
So first of all, I was astonished that they inked this partnership with Uber, and I have to be like, I have to admit that I left the conversation with Takidra not fully understanding still how that partnership came together, because I mean, for Waymo, you know, you're trying to build your own service and the wait times are long. I mean, in San Francisco, the wait times can be around 35 minutes right now if you want to hail. So you're going to now make the wait times longer on your own app. And then for Uber, it's just like, wow, like you could potentially be replaced by this Waymo company and now you're partnering. So it really doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. I mean, if I'm the CEO of either of those companies, I'm not doing that. But anyway, then maybe that's why I'm not running them. You know, it's a great question in terms of whether this is going to replace ride sharing. So actually, there's another moment in this interview with Takidra that you might find interesting. So I actually had a quote from Harry that I included in my story about. I had this August 4th story in Big Technology about Cruise expanding to LA, and that we finally have arrived on self-driving's breakout moment. And then Harry mentioned that, you know, basically that there's going to, you know, what's great about the Uber model is that it's variable cost for them. So like when it's a very busy time, you can have lots of drivers come online. And when it's less busy, you won't have a lot of drivers come online. And something like a self-driving fleet of self-driving cars could be effectively a fixed cost that will take the least desirable rides and then maybe leave the best for the cherry pickers, right? So could potentially, you know, lift the earnings or lift the experience for the human drivers and let the robots take the stuff that nobody wants to some extent. I ran that by Takidra. I don't think she really bought that. I mean, I think that she was very clear that like the aim is to have a broad level of service. So from my perspective, if you're thinking about a driver community, I mean, over time, I think that these companies, their aim is to replace every driver. I mean, every human driver, not just ride sharing drivers, but every driver, period. Like that is what they're going for. And I don't really see them aiming for like some area of symbiosis with Uber drivers. That being said, it is very, very difficult to scale these things. And we only have a few hundred cars on the road from each company right now. I mean, you talk about 5 million drivers, right? So we have like 400 now. And even if they want to scale as fast as they possibly can, that's going to be difficult. And, you know, you even look at Cruise with the, you know, very ambitious perspective. They're off the road in the US right now, pretty much, after getting their license suspended by the California DMV. So there's going to be many different obstacles along the road that they're going to have to steer around. And we're just starting to see them now that these things are starting to scale. So I guess, like, I mean, my perspective is if I'm a driver for an Uber or a Lyft, I'm not panicking, right? I know that it's going to be quite some time before these things, you know, really challenge me at all. In fact, like, there were moments when I was like very determined to take only a Waymo or a cruise my entire time in San Francisco. And the ETAs were just ridiculous. And I was just like, well, all right, I'm going to Uber now because like I know this is going to come in 2 minutes. And of
Yeah.
course it did. It worked as intended. So like they're definitely not anywhere close to being in the competitive range, but long term, I think there might be an issue. I am curious what you guys think. I mean, I'm sure you talk about this on the show, but like, you know, hearing your perspective would be very helpful for me because I'm still trying to get my head around where this is going to land.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
let me answer
yeah,
that with
Chris has Chris's best buddy. He,
yeah. Well,
by the way,
okay,
Kyle
so
triggers Chris all the time. So,
well, and it's more of the replacing every driver that you mentioned. That to me is more the triggering point than not. And obviously, replacing rideshare driving, people who are trying to make money and all that. That's also triggering. But like, I enjoy driving. I enjoy going out, driving around, being free. It's still just as nice as it was when I was 16, 17, 18 years old. You could go out, drive, windows down, music blasting, and it's therapeutic almost. So I'm sure that's for a lot of people. But on the flip side, will also people adopt that? That's what I think when it comes down to scalability. Will people actually adopt self-driving? Yeah, right now you're probably getting all the nostalgic or like creating of that when it comes down. But there's a lot of people who will go to at a checkout instead of going to self-checkout, they go to a person and they make it an absolute necessity. Like when I go to the grocery store, I was at Walmart yesterday. Do you want to go to the self-checkout where you still have a line? There's 12 booths there, but then you could go down where there's 3 people who are actually checking out. And I had to get one thing. And so it's like, you got to make that decision. Most people will go to the self-checkout. That's why Walmart has it that way. But I go to the grocery store, I go to other places. People don't want to go to the self-checkout, which is kind of like the self-driving, if you want to think about it that way. So I think the scalability is still apprehensive in a lot of places. And I think they want to push beyond that. But I think it's going to be difficult with the people who are saying, no, I want somebody who's a driver, whether it's rideshare driving, whether it's themselves driving. They want to have that ability to be in control, or they want the person there who is in control that can get them around safely, where the trust in a driverless vehicle may not necessarily be there. I think Elon kind of has a better approach to it because you are still driving the vehicle and you can use full self-driving, which it kind of bridges that gap a little bit versus something like a Waymo or a cruise where you just get in, there's no car or there's no driver, you're just in the car and it's driving around. So I think there's a lot when it comes to the human mind and human condition that's going to take a lot to overcome and bridge that gap between driverless and what we have currently today.
Right. There is that sort of the vision and smacks right into reality. And like I said, like, yeah, they have a vision that they want to replace everyone, but like, is that going to ever happen? It's questionable, but they will get some share at a certain point. We just don't know what it is.
I mean, I think initially this is like an exciting time for people to give it a try. Okay. Because Waymo has been in LA for the past couple of weeks. I missed it, but I think I'm going to catch him in Hollywood. They're offering free rides, right? I want to get into one of these things. I want to see how this thing is going to, manage itself in Hollywood traffic, right? And look, there is a certain curiosity now, but then AAA ran a survey, and 80% of U.S. adults don't trust this yet, right? And the other thing is, I mean, I think there's talk about disruption, and they may be disrupting rideshare drivers, getting them out of a job. In fact, I interviewed Ali Kashani, who was the CEO of Serve Robotics, on our show, right? Like, they all make the same argument, but the point that, well, humans are great, but robots aiding humans are going to make humans better. I'm going like, I'm not buying any of that. You know what I mean? I mean, look, there's going to be job losses, period. People are not talking about it realistically, because a rideshare driver who's driving 40, 50 hours a week and making what he's making, maybe that's the only thing he can do, right? He can't do anything else, and he's going to lose a job. I mean, in fact, Dara said this yesterday on Kara Swisher's interview, and he says, initially it's going to be hybrid kind of a thing, but then ultimately, the funny thing is rideshare companies are not backing off this, and and they're admitting that we want to replace you to the driver's face. It's, I guess, kind of odd to me, right?
Yeah, it is. It's crazy.
Yeah. And the couple other things, we talk a lot to our community about AI and how AI is in the algorithms are pricing all these trips, right? At the moment, Alex, we had something called upfront fares in our world. Passengers, I'm a passenger on these, but you are, I'm sure, on all of them, or a lot of them anyway. And they spit out a price for you, right, as a passenger for a rideshare trip. Until about a year ago, we knew how much we were going to make because there was a rate card meaning time and distance. So Uber and Lyft, to their wisdom, which I think on their part was brilliant, they came up with saying that, well, there is no more time and distance. I'm going like, how's that? And then now there is an algorithm that figures out literally 70 different things in a millisecond for the driver. And once they spit out a price to you as a passenger, it'll come and spit out a price to the driver. Hence, their take rate has, gone up quite a bit because it's almost like a Dutch auction on Wall Street, right? So I'll lock the passenger in and then I'll shop this offer around to many drivers who are willing to take it the lowest price. Meaning, in a two-sided marketplace, the only way they're going to be profitable is charge as much as they can with elasticity, obviously, and then pay as little as they can, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
that's what our community is struggling with. This upfront fares thing opened the Pandora's box on all kinds of shenanigans that we talk about every week. Literally, like if they stop this, they would put us out of business. There'd be no Show Me the Money Club. And they
Yeah.
keep doing it.
Well, I have to say that I was in San Francisco and had a conversation with a driver of an Uber that I was in, and we were talking about like the spread. And I was like, all right, I'm paying this for the ride. What are you getting from it? And we just like talked transparently about it. And the gap between it was astonishing. It was like, I don't know. I mean, I might be making it up, but like 40, 50% was crazy.
No, you're dead on.
It's pretty typical.
I was just like, how is this company getting away with this? It feels like highway robbery.
Easily.
Well,
Because they can.
I mean, one of the craziest things is before we showed the rate cards of multiple cities across the United States, and there were a handful that was actually under the IRS standard mileage deduction wage. So now a lot of places are. So if you take a trip and you look at the mileage and the total distance and divide it by what your per mile rate, a lot of times it's actually under that IRS standard mileage deduction rate, which right now is, correct me if I'm wrong, I can't remember, it's 65.5 cents. So a lot of places are seeing much less than that. In fact, I got a couple of screenshots from drivers that were around 45, almost 50 cents a mile. And it's like, what's going on here? This doesn't make any sense at all.
I mean, I'll give you an idea, Alex. Before upfront fares, when I first started with Uber, initially Uber, then Lyft, and I'm on like 9 different apps now because I consider myself like an independent contractor, right? Because that's what they want me to be. And my time is for sale to the highest bidder. I mean, 20 minutes to Uber, 10 minutes to DoorDash, 20 minutes to Lyft, whatever. Who's going to pay me the most? I have no loyalty to any of these companies. Zero as a driver. None. And as a customer as well, because I just want to go from point A to point B safely at the cheapest price, and whoever picks me up faster gets the business. But when I first started in LA in 2016, early 2016 on Uber, my mileage rates were $1.40 a mile and 35 cents a minute, okay? Which was about half the cab rates in LA at that time. So fast forward to 2022 when upfront fares came around. Before upfront fares, my time and distance rates in LA, in a city like LA, and we know what's happening with inflation, 60 cents a mile and 21 cents a minute.
So about a third.
A third, and 65.5 cents being the IRS deduction, 60 cents a mile. That's what Uber was paying for time and distance. And now you can understand how their take rate, that spread that you talked about, has gone up, right?
Yeah. And it's sort of, maybe it's being driven by, and I'm not saying it's right, but like this is them responding to the fact that we're not in zero interest rate anymore. We have a 5% interest rate. And so Wall Street just demands more profits from every tech company. And somehow like Meta's been able to make that money by selling more ads, and Apple can make it by selling more services. And the only way that Uber makes it is just by increasing the volume of rides or taking more from drivers. And it seems
Well,
like
I
we
think
know
it's
which
happening
direction
both
they're
ways.
going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
happening
taking more
both
from
ways.
drivers and
Charging.
passengers.
Yeah,
Right.
charging as much as they can and paying as little as they can. And these new AI algorithms are doing a wonderful job at it. People hate me
Mhm.
when I say this. Whoever came up with it at Uber should get like 10 million shares of stock. But we have a few more minutes, and give us also a little bit of an idea where you see this automation and AI and all this is going. Right, I have a couple of kids. I really am concerned about their future, and I'm sure a lot of drivers have families. And literally, AI is running our business. I mean, it's pretty much, Uber said it in the last earnings report. They said we use AI heavily from support, right? From support, which is horrible. Chat bots with cut and paste BS, right? Canned messages, which drives a driver crazy, to pricing these trips. And where do you see this going? I mean, should we be scared? Or you talk to all the CEOs, right?
Well, listen, I mean, it's not exactly the same boat, but my ship is in the same ocean as you guys, because I don't know. I'm sure your listeners are familiar that a year ago around this time, the most advanced text generation started to come out and become the fastest growing consumer tech product of all time in ChatGPT. And I write a newsletter for a living, and now all of a sudden ChatGPT is writing dissertations on various complex tech topics. And I'm like, hey, wait a second. So I sort of feel like every job is going to find some automation and AI start to impact it in real ways, whether that's a rider with ChatGPT, whether that's an Uber driver with AI management and automation, whether that's a graphic designer with things like DALL-E and Midjourney. I mean, the list goes on. And I think that, like, by and large, that this technology is always best at taking a lot of the stuff we don't want to do and taking it on itself. And I mean, like, I was speaking with a group of lawyers who introduced AI to their firm. So they have a chat bot called Harvey, and they could basically like ask it questions about documents that it's being fed for discovery. I think I might be overgeneralizing, but that's the general idea. And I said, well, like, so you fired all the paralegals and the junior associates, right? And they're like, you know what, we didn't. Like, we still, we're now able to just take on a little bit more work than we were previously, because, like, instead of spending all that time doing this, work that people that are being paid as much as they are shouldn't be doing, like, combing through tons of irrelevant documents, they get to the more relevant stuff more quickly. And they basically said, you're not familiar with the legal profession, but people went bananas once they put legal books online, because that meant people could start searching the legal books and get to the relevant statutes more quickly, as opposed to having to pull it off the shelf and spend 2 hours in the law library figuring out what laws they were going to rely on and what case precedent. And obviously that has not, led to a diminution of the legal profession. Trust me. There are plenty of lawyers that are working. So I'll just to wrap, I think overall we're going to start to see a lot of these tools that might seem scary at first, ChatGPT, for instance, or even a car driving itself, but ultimately the way that they integrate themselves into our society, while they will cause some, like, definitely some pain in the short term for some. Overall, we find a way to, like, get ourselves on different work, more interesting work. Or oftentimes what really happens is the big promises, the 10x every year, don't come to fruition. And, we end up doing the work that we were ready to say goodbye to for longer than we anticipated.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you. Or we will all have 1800s again, like my good friend Brian Merchant's book says. We're all going to become Luddites now and rebel against big tech.
Speaking of the Luddites, before I started Big Technology, I was a tech reporter at BuzzFeed, and that was right around the time when they started rolling robots out in San Francisco, pretty much everywhere you looked. And I just did this, like, series of videos where I would fight the robots, because I was fairly certain that humankind was just going to rebel against this, proliferation of robots everywhere we lived. And we did this one video with DoorDash that they wanted to show us that they had these robot delivery bots, and talking about how secure they were, and oh my God, and taking us along. We did this video, and I was like, all right. I was like, so can I try to steal food from your robot? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. It will never open. And I like gave it like 15 seconds I mean, I was lifting weights at the time, so I was ready for this fight. And I gave it like 15 seconds of little jiggling, and then finally ripped it open, and I took the lunch and I ran out.
Yeah.
And so we also did one where they were started to roll out these robotic tackle dummies on a football field. So we went one-on-one with a tackle dummy, and I was like driving at full speed at me, and they're like, "Are you sure this will definitely injure you?" But anyway, sorry. The coda to this is Jimmy Kimmel got a hold of our DoorDash video and showed us like walking across the street with the DoorDash. And then he like superimposed like a bus just driving across the street and hitting the little robot, and it explodes into flames. It was like a little running bit on Jimmy Kimmel for a while. So I guess that was my one
there's no
impactful
shortage
piece of
of
work
those.
at BuzzFeed. Yeah.
There's no shortage of those videos, right? I mean, we show it all the time. We laugh about it, but these little mini delivery
little
robots,
robot with the ride of his life.
yeah, with the ride of his life. Get somebody taking but so Alex, I really want to thank you for showing up. I wanted to do this for a long time, and maybe one day I'll show up on your podcast. Who knows? But
that'd be great.
Tell us, everything that you do. I mean, the Big Tech, obviously, podcast, CNBC, the book. Just close with that, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for the opportunity. Great to be here with you guys. I mean, it's awesome for me to be able to be here and learn with people who drive, who represent a community of drivers. It's much better to, for me to speak with you guys than to just get it from the top of these companies. So I appreciate the opportunity to be on and to learn from you. So thank you for that. If people are interested in the stuff that I do, you go to Big Technology Podcast in your podcast app of choice. It's on Apple, Spotify, Overcast, Pocket Apps, whatever. Big Technology Podcast there. It's twice a week. And then also bigtechnology.com is the website for my newsletter. At least it's the one I'll be writing until ChatGPT comes in and says you're no longer needed here. We just offered this, open up this new premium subscription, but there's also plenty of stuff there for free subscribers. So those are the two places really where folks can find me.
Great to have you on. We'll keep in touch, obviously, and then let's see if Kyle is right about that 10x.
Well, we'll find out next year.
I don't know. Elon has said a lot of things too, and it's never come necessarily to fruition within the times tables that he's given. So he might just try to kind of be copying it.
We'll find out.
All right. Thanks,
enough.
Alex, though.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Alex.
All right. That was Alex. That was a great conversation, I thought. Hopefully we'll be able to bring him on again into the near future when things become a little bit more. One of the things I wish I would have brought up when you guys were talking kind of about when it came about the Waymo and Uber combination and inking that deal, it's kind of the same thing with taxis, though. They've kind of joined forces with LA taxis and New York City taxis. And they were trying to get out there and take them out. So I wish I would have brought that up. I didn't even really think about it until after the fact. But yeah, that's one of the things as well there too. So I think, you could look at it as maybe a zero-sum game on one end. And I think that may have been how they've gotten there when it came to the deals. And then, maybe they work together or things come to fruition on both ends where, the joint partnership is actually a better deal versus, them trying to go at each other's throats and, somebody stands while the other one falls. It could come down to the same type of thing when you hear it with the US, united we stand, divided we fall. There's a lot of things there. It's just because it just recently happened. We won't really know what actually happens until we get a little bit of time between them inking the deal and what's to come from that.
Well, Uber, I think, is going, we're going to talk about that segment, shortly, but actually we'll talk about when it gets there. But yesterday, Chris, I was thinking about this on the way back from the book signing. You know what a bookmaker is, right? Right. There are illegal ones and there are legal ones in Vegas, right? So you go to a casino. What is the idea behind bookmaking? Do a lot of business, take 10%, as long as you have equal business on both ends, right? Guaranteed 10% margin, guaranteed. That's called the VIG. That's called the juice for people who know. So that's their commission basically. So from the loser, they take a 10%. So as long as we have enough winners and losers equally, dollar wise, I'm going to take my 10%, and the growth is going to help me make money, period. I have zero risk. So I was thinking about Uber being the best bookmaker on the planet with a 15%, because that's what Dara kept saying yesterday. Kara Swisher's, you guys should all go listen. It's on Apple Podcast. It's Kara Swisher and Dara Khosrowshahi. He was saying like our take rate is 15%. I don't know why drivers are going out of shape, meaning after all their expenses, obviously, like, insurance costs, and credit card costs, and all that stuff, right? I go, okay, so that's like a perfect bookmaking situation, right? So we have like 2.4 billion trips coming up this quarter, right? On each one, we take 15%, and we're terrifically happy being in that business. And that's like a bookmaker. We equalize supply and demand. We take our 15% cut on billions and billions and billions and billions of top line, and we're a profitable company. We're good. And that's what I thought. I thought so. They're like the best bookmaker on the planet. So,
well, did you? I can't remember the name of the movie. But the one I Am a Robot with Will Smith, where they were, the one that I'm going to talk about in a minute is with Tom Cruise. But the one with Will Smith, when they're doing that chase scene, that's all autonomous vehicles.
Yep.
And some of them are owned, some of them are not. So it's like, okay, some people still have car ownership, while other people just kind of get into the next open car and takes them where they need to go, and then maybe that car stays where they're going to be, or it goes on to the next one. Let's say you go to a house that's in the suburbs or something versus being out in town. So is that a subscription model that you're going with? Is that, it depends on all the things. And the same thing with that Tom Cruise movie with the premonition. I can't remember, where he was had the 3 premonitions, and basically said that he was going to murder somebody, and they outlawed murdering, or the beginning of it, pre-murder. It was the same kind of thing, where the cars would do kind of the same thing, where it's all AV, nobody owns them. And again, there were a few ownerships there. So my question is, I wonder if that's what Uber saw at the beginning. They're like, well, we wanted to do self-driving, and we want everybody to use this, and then just use a subscription model where they replace every driver. And that's what kind of pissed me off at the beginning, when it came to like the same thing what Kyle Vogt said. When it came to Cruise, is let's ban human drivers. Well, I like driving. That's not going to happen. We've discussed that already.
Yeah.
But that's what I thought at the beginning. It's like, you won't own a car. Essentially what you'll do is you'll belong to some sort of subscription thing, which will be like a lease, and you have access to the vehicles that are open. So they want to push out as many vehicles as they potentially could. And whether that car may stay with you in the garage or something while you are, at home, and then, when you go to work, then it goes away, and then the next one comes, and there's this
that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Of
that makes a lot of sense.
That's what I thought essentially where it was coming from. And when what Alex is talking about with the scalability and stuff like that, that's the only way it would make sense, and that's the only way it could potentially work. So I think that's probably going to be the ultimate goal. That was probably the inspiration for those 2 movies. And then they're just saying, okay, how can we get to that avenue? And right now, you have to make decisions on where you can start, opening the door to those potential markets. And, he was talking about the trucking industry, which is a huge industry. There's the rideshare industry, which is another one. Then you have the personal ownership, which is the largest one of them all.
Yeah.
So I think that's where they're going to start. And, if they can get 10, 20%, I don't think that's going to be good enough for them. I think that's going to be something where it's going to be the evil takeovers.
Yeah, not for Kyle's 10x, 10x, 10x. I urge everybody to go watch Alex's YouTube channel.
10x will only last you, let's say, okay, you got 400 cars.
But 10x this year is okay. 400 cars to 4,000 cars, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Next year, 10x is okay. 4,000 to 40,000.
400,000.
Yeah,
40,000, yeah.
40, right? And then from 40 to 400,000 cars at 80 grand or 70, 50, 60 grand a piece, right? The capital investment for what you're going to get in return is, I'm not sure it's economically feasible, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but then the other side of the coin is, you got to see how long are they going to last. And then one thing, they're probably going to go into the garage. They're going to know what maintenance they need. They're going to go into the garage. They're going to get that maintenance. And they're probably going to be cars that are going to last, 100,000 easily. Like, yeah, well beyond that. They're probably going to be looking at 3, 4, 500,000 mile cars, maybe even more. But the problem that they're not really thinking about is the human perspective. Let's look at the delivery robots. They're getting beat up, they're getting tossed over, they're getting, robbed, all of these things that are happening with these delivery robots. We've already talked about what's going on inside these cars. What's going to happen when you start getting more and more and more of that, where you're going to have to replace the seats. What are they going to go all plastic seats and be like uncomfortable? Are they going to have like roller coaster things where they're going to come down on you and like strap you in so you can't move? I mean, like where they're going to completely corral and control the person with inside of them, so then they don't have to worry about these things. Like right now, you're getting a nice seat, a nice normal seat, but if there's no driver in there to say, "Hey, you can't do that," what about the people who are going to smoke in the cars? What about the people who are going to drink and spill and eat and spill and obviously have sex in them? There's a lot of things that are going to happen, and they're going to have to look at this. Are they going to do a Kaizen model where it's, hey, you figured out a problem and now you got to find a way where it's never going to happen again? That's what the Japanese have done with the cars. And
don't forget about hacking, right? I mean, every huge company's gotten hacked. A bad actor hacked a couple of these and runs it through people, right? I mean, look, man, look, just because we can build it doesn't mean we need it. I'm not buying this 10x, 10x, 10x. Alex was like, oh, no. 10x, 10x. I'm like,
well, again, that's the same thing that Elon Musk says when it comes, we're going to have all of our cars, they're going to be full self-driving. Yeah, they're still in the beta phase, which I mean, you've said it's very good, but there's still work that needs to be done. It's not fully controlled or fully automated yet. You still have to have the driver in the seat and has to have control. There's a lot of things that he said that has not come to that point. And I think if you have that vision and you get people behind it saying, it may not necessarily mean that you need to get to 10x. Like, I think that's where I'll disagree with Alex when he said, it's going to make him look bad or something like that. Elon's been saying a bunch of shit for a long time. And each one is like,
Elon, Elon is Elon, and this guy is
how do you know he's not an Elon fanboy? Yeah. He might be an Elon fanboy. Well, he's getting in self-driving cars. Tesla did the same thing. I mean, you're looking at Cruise, and I mean, he could just be a Tesla fanboy or an Elon fanboy who's trying to look at Elon, emulate it through him, and say, we're going to 10x, we're going to 10x, we're going to 10x, and it might look good, but in reality, you might get 10x, like you said, this year. But with what's happened, Cruise being pulled nationwide now, how long is that going to look? Is that going to be a month? Is that going to be 5 months, 6 months, a year?
Well,
there goes your 10x. That just.
But I at the moment, summarizing what you said and Alex said, don't worry, drivers. These things are not going to replace you anytime soon. Okay.
No. I think though there's going to be a tipping point. I think we're going to say it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not happening. And then all of a sudden we're going to hit that nexus point, and it's going to start taking off where it's going to start happening. Right now I think there's a lot. I mean, go back to 2000 or so. RIT, MIT, all these companies were just starting to try to work for the DARPA category with self-driving cars, and it took very long for these colleges and places to actually come up with these full self-driving vehicles. And even still, years later, they were still not being able to cross the finish line. So it's the same thing. The technology, it's coming, it's kind of there, but it's going to take a lot more in order for it. So I think that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. And don't worry, drivers, they're not going to be around. By the time you're done with rideshare, these things may be around. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about trick or treat. Let's talk about treats.
Oh yeah. So it's Halloween. A lot of people are probably out trick or treating. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens when it's the end of the time. on the replays in the comments there. But right now, yeah, Halloween weekend is always a big thing because we have the Halloween parties. You have whether it's downtown events at bars, whether it's home events with parties and stuff like that. That's where I was on Saturday. I was at a Halloween party, a family Halloween party. I go to it every single year, and they started doing it on a Saturday before Halloween, or 2 weeks before Halloween or something. It was a little crazy. I had my construction worker outfit on because I fly drones, so I actually put that on, so people don't bother me when I'm flying a drone. So if you fly a drone, get a safety vest. Just a little FYI. People leave you alone. Get a couple of cones. That's why I have the cones for putting them on the cruise cars. But well, I actually had my Halloween costume kind of came true because a toilet backed up on the second floor, and all of a sudden water was just pouring out. So it was pouring out of the outlets. I mean the light. The light in in the dining room, in the kitchen, and my buddy and I were in the basement talking, and we were literally standing there, and it was coming down one of the cold air returns or the heat ducts.
Shit.
And so I had to go in there. Everybody's kind of running around like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. So it's like the one South Park
the main off.
Yeah, well, South Park just had the Pandaverse episode. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's on Paramount. It's hilarious. But Stan didn't know how to do shit, and he was telling, or Stan's dad, and he was telling Stan, hey, we don't know how to do shit, so let's fix the oven door because we don't know how to open it, or we don't know how to fix it and work it. And all you got to do is like put in new screws because they were stripped or something. Real simple, real easy. But he's like, people don't know how to do shit. Let me show you how to do shit. So he's like, I'm going to call up the handyman. So he calls up the handyman, but they become like the billionaires of the world because nobody knows how to do shit. And it's the same thing. Like nobody knew what to do. Like I'm like, okay, water and electricity do not mix. You don't want that. And so that I go downstairs to the circuit breaker and start turning off the lighting to find out which is the lights that are controlling it. And everybody's just sitting there like, oh, da, 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 da. And then, I talked to my buddy and his wife, and I say, hey, do you have holiday strings lights or lamps or something so we can plug them in because you still have power in your outlets. So we can at least get light. There's 40 people sitting here. And they're like, no, we don't have anything, but we got Christmas lights. We put them up. And then as I'm going around to put the Christmas lights in, the fan in the family room is on and working. Nobody said, oh, if the fan's on, I could turn the light on too. So I click the light, turn it on. Oh, we have light. And everybody's like, oh my God, there's light. Oh, it's like, nobody knows how to do shit. So that was my holiday. You had a much different holiday when it came to getting out there and driving. So how much did you make? What was it like? Surge, drivers, obviously chat. What are you seeing, or what did you see this weekend? If you were out, let us know.
What happened? Listen, man, it took me back to 2016, 2017, Chris.
Oh, I'm jealous though.
I'm
that's
telling
a
you,
perfect time to drive.
That was like the most fun 4 hours I had driving on Saturday. Now, I had put out a short giving you guys the strategy of what to do. So if you didn't make any money or not good, well, everybody made money. There's impossible not to make money on Saturday because of Halloween being on Tuesday. A lot of parties were happening on the weekend on Saturday. And I said that on the short, and whoever listened to the short, hopefully followed that advice. And I said, do short trips with high surge. Well, that's my cursor. That's my area. $24 next trip. Look at these trips. Even on Trip Radar, there were good trips, Chris. They didn't go there to die. They went there to get picked.
Oh, yeah. Those ones, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at it. $31.69 for a pickup that's 2.3 miles away for a 4.9 trip. That's 20 minutes total.
Yeah, that's $90 an hour.
And then, 30. You can't complain there.
But I was even cherry picking, on certain ones that, like, I put out some examples. I thought I did well until we did a community post, and people were like, "Oh, $720 in 8 hours, and I'm going like, shit, man, my students are running circles around me now. Now, one thing that I did notice though, like this,
Well,
for
here's
example,
another one. Here's a student right here.
that's a student right there. That's $100
$513
an
on
hour.
Saturday.
100
And
bucks
this
an
is
hour.
in, yeah. So congrats there. Look at that.
That's
And
up
yeah,
north,
you're on.
up north of me. So that's $100 an hour. Congrats. You ran circles. I did like 300 in like 4 hours and change. And I thought I was good at 75. This guy did 100. He drives Uber X, by the way. So don't ask me like he drove something else. He did exactly what I said. Look at that. He squeezed 24 trips in 5 hours, Chris. That means he did shorties and surge.
Yep.
And that's what you got to do if you go.
And look at that online versus active time. Active,
Yeah.
5 hours
So
and 2 minutes.
That's like
online
98%
for
utilization
14 more minutes. Yeah. Yeah, that's being
98%.
efficient right there.
Perfect day. Perfect 5 hours. And if you go back one screenshot, and then we'll skip after that. So this is one of my trips that I did. Look at that trip, Chris. You want to do that trip?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, you're looking at what, not even 4 mile total, not even 15 minutes for 30, almost $30. Oh yeah, I'll take it. But
you're taking that.
Look at the screenshot next to it. What's going on there?
At the same time,
what's going on?
Yeah, I was running the passenger app on my second phone, because when it's this busy, Uber and Lyft, I always have 2 phones, like one app on one app on the other, because toggling between them is kind of difficult with trip radar and all that shit. Yep. So I was pricing trips. Like this is about the same time. If you look at the like it's 12:19 versus 12:21 past midnight, right?
Yeah.
So literally basically the same time. So the reason that trip was 29 is because of the 24 surge included. But as a passenger, I'm in the middle of that surge as well, right? As a driver, if you're offering me that trip, I'm going to take it, of course. But as a passenger, I'm in the middle of that surge, and I was pricing trips. And this is what Uber was pricing the trips at, Chris. So either Uber lost their ass that day. I mean, I don't know.
Whoa. Hold on. Are we witnessing a glitch that actually benefited drivers? Wow.
Yeah.
Is this possible that we're actually seeing a glitch that benefits drivers and screws Uber? Usually it's the other way around.
Yeah, I was shocked. Everywhere I went, the screenshot you show, $20, $25, $24, $30 surge, right? So I'm like, look at this, right? I mean, this is like crazy.
Yeah.
And this is like shooting fish in a barrel. So you would take any trip that's short.
$30 surge right there.
Yeah. So I'm going like, okay. And I'm pricing trips on the second phone. And they were all like $8, $10. I go, they lost their ass. So
I had to have something.
Yeah. So hope today's Tuesday, obviously trick or treat, be safe. Number 1. Number 2, have a dash cam for sure. Number 3, short trips with high surge. Now, I don't know if today is going to be as good as Saturday. I doubt it, because tomorrow is a work day, but then, people party, doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, the one thing that you're going to be able to get, you're going to get everybody who's still going out. There's a lot of people going, like my family is not near my house. My family has gone to where our old neighborhood is, because we know that we have friends there and stuff. So there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be kind of going back and forth between. There's a lot of people who are, so it's definitely not going to be as busy today as it was Saturday, but there's a huge but. If you missed out on this last weekend, don't worry. Don't worry, because we have a couple of holidays that are coming up that you will definitely make money on. Yep. The next big one is going to be Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. That is always going to be a big bar day, huge bar night. That's probably one of the biggest bar nights in the country, besides the night before Christmas Eve. And, you could argue Christmas Eve and day, but also, there's going to be a lot going on, especially with, wait, let me look. So Wednesday, let me see, pull up the calendar. Wednesday, what is it? Thanksgiving is the 23rd. So Wednesday, the 22nd is going to be the next one. And then we're looking at Friday and Saturday. So the 22nd, 23rd before Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Saturday, the 23rd is going to be absolutely bonkers. Then New Year's weekend probably is going to be pretty decent too, because you're going to have the parties. You're going to have, some Christmas parties, some holiday parties, some New Year's parties and stuff like that going, between. So unfortunately, New Year's Eve is on a Sunday going into Monday, but most people have off that day on Monday.
Well, Monday,
or
the
several
first
people
will
will
be
have off
first will be closed, right? So
for a lot of
Sunday,
people.
that whole weekend should be good. But you know what I've been noticing is over the last 8 years, every New Year's Eve is worse and worse and worse. I mean, you're still gonna make good money, but it's worse. But I hope you guys killed it on Saturday. Be safe out there today. Kill it again today. And totally reminiscing of the good old days, because the numbers that I put up and this gentleman put up, and a lot of drivers, you know, like on our community page were like 80, 90, $100 an hour. This is all on Uber X, right? And they all follow the strategy. Again, today's strategy is the same. Short surge trips, don't take long trips, don't take airport trips, don't get sucked out of the hot zone. You know, you can decline trips, people. Please think, okay? 4 miles for $30 is profitable, trust me. But anyway, so stay safe. You know, send me your screenshots of how today went for you guys. Yeah, what this weekend was like for people who are new to Rideshare or to this channel was exactly what an average weekend was like in 2016-15. Okay, that was like an average weekend. $500, no problem. You know, a weekend meaning not Saturday and Sunday and Friday, just one single day. It was just like
I mean, 2K club, 3K club was commonplace. Now it's far and it's few and far between, unless you really know what you're doing, you really know your market. But yeah, it was Christmas out there for a lot of people. And again, if you missed it or you want to take advantage of the next few, those are the next few. So just be smart, plan those out, and enjoy. I was kind of pissed because I was looking at the maps too, and they were on fire. They were pretty lit too here in Buffalo. So I'm like, oh, come on. But I was already drinking, having a good time. So it's like, oh, okay.
No, I mean,
all right.
look,
Well,
you know, I will drive tonight. I'm going to go out there and do a few trips tonight, staying within 5 miles of my house. And, you know, whoever has the better surge, shorter trips, I'm just going to decline, take, take. I'm going to stay 5-6 miles on my house and hopefully make a couple $100 in a couple hours. And then that'll be it. And I'll put them up next week. So yeah, be safe, please. Be safe. That's the number one thing. And have some fun. There you go.
Let's talk about the next thing. Now, we've all talked about Uber and Lyft and how Lyft likes to copy Uber. But recently, they started doing things that were copying, but they were doing them better. And the biggest one is the stay within area filter. I don't know. I don't think I've talked to one driver that does not like or use that very effectively for themselves. If you don't like it, I mean, you got to learn to use it because you're missing out on how well that is. But
if you don't like that, go do something else.
But yeah, absolutely. But when it comes to Boost and Boost Plus on the Uber app, there's a few restrictions there that don't necessarily make it the best. And Lyft is coming out with their own Boost Plus without those restrictions, and it's going to make drivers a lot more happier. So what we're seeing right here is a $5 bonus hour on Friday the 27th from 4 to 5. But what do you think about this one?
Okay, listen, like you said correctly, you know, Lyft copying Uber with trip radar, definitely better. Lyft copying Uber, you know, with this now, instead of Boost, they call it bonus hour, right? This is, or the area filter versus area preference, right? I mean, these are three things already. The Lyft, for my money, is doing better than Uber. There's no ifs and buts about it. The reason is Uber has a geofenced area for that boost to kick in, and it is just like this for an hour or two, or you know, whatever it is during the day. But they have a geofenced area in Los Angeles, which covers the hot zone basically. But Lyft is not like that. There is no geofenced area. You can accept it anywhere you want, until maybe they will put a geofence area. I don't know. But here we go. I mean, this is another thing, identical, basically a clone of Uber Boost, but done better. If you don't like this either, then Lyft says it's going to be a $3 to $8. So this was 5 for me, but maybe some people got 8, some people got 3. Maybe on tonight they'll put up the 8 one because it's going to be busy trying to kill the surge, right? So hey, and the strategy for this is just like anything else. You got to do shorties. I mean, if you're giving me $5, I'll do 4 shorties in an hour, get $3, $4, maybe $4.50 out of the trip, There's your $10. 4 of those is $40 an hour. I mean, the strategy is the same as area filter. Put your area filter on. You have the boost going on or bonus hour going on. Make your $30-$40 and be happy with it.
Yeah.
So
one thing to note though, if you look at on the right hand screenshot, if you're watching, but if you're listening, it does have the area requirements. So it says sometimes it'll have an area requirement, not always.
Well,
so
you know what this is, what Chris, remember the streaks, right? Initially the streaks didn't have a zone, and then the second version of the streaks, or streak 2.0, came with streak zones, right? So I'm pretty sure they're going to start it this way and maybe put a geofence area like Uber's is, but at the moment, definitely better than Uber's boost. There's no ifs and buts about it. The only thing, by the way, on this one, I did a couple of trips with this. You know, when Uber's ping screen comes in, it says 4.5 boost or $3 boost is included, right, on the ping screen. On the bottom, when the ping screen comes in with this bonus hour on top, it will show the base rate, basically, whatever the trip is. And on the bottom of the screen, it will say you will get paid that bonus, the $5 in this case, after the trip is over, and they are paying it. But yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. You guys gotta like this. So you have area filter over area preference. You have, you know, now bonus hour over Uber Boost, right? And you have trip radar. I think on all three, Lyft is ahead, or they copied better and made it better, like Chris said.
Yeah, I think in their boardroom, you know, we talked about the Uber boardroom, what that looks like. I think in the Lyft boardroom, they're looking and saying, okay, that works on Uber. How can we make it better? How can we make it better for drivers? How can we make it better overall? And it seems like they're doing that. So now there is going to be sometimes there's going to be some area, and I could probably see why, especially if there's like really busy events going on, or you know, if it's like a weekend night or something with the bars. But I think if it's going to be busy overall, then you're probably going to see it a little bit crazier. Oh, I forgot a day, Super Bowl. That's also a big busy day when it comes to it. So
Super Bowls, you know, Mother's
start with
Day,
food delivery,
Day,
or
you know.
start with food delivery, go to Rideshare, go to food delivery, then go back to Rideshare throughout Super Bowl day.
Yeah, I mean, there are good days to do this. Today should be good. Hopefully, everybody will come back with a bunch of money tomorrow. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about Uber Teen expanding into more markets, and now your market. So I don't have to just worry about this, but you got to worry about it now too.
Yeah, this is my app. By the way, you know, they also forced Uber Pet on me. I'm like, bro, I don't want to do it. You know, they had that glitch actually. Uber Pet showed up like 10 times within an hour in my inbox. Uber Pet, Uber Pet, Uber Pet. I'm like, I don't want to do it. And then they put the box there. But the other day, unbeknownst to me, and look how they hid that. But look, I mean, it is normal. I'm like looking at my preferences, about to set my preference. I go, teen requests. I'm going like, what the hell is this? They sneaked it in there, Chris. And then I click on it. I click on it. It's toggled on automatically. I'm like,
that's how it was for me too.
Bullshit. I ain't doing it. Toggle it off. Okay. I don't know whoever your opinion is about Uber Teen. I will not do a delivery to a teen or rideshare for a teen between the ages of 13 and 17. Personally, I'm not going to do it. If you guys did it already, which I know is in many cities already, shoot me an email, Sergio@therideshareguy.com. Let me know how it went. I'm not going to personally do it. Period. That's it.
You know what? Here's the thing. I would say, for me personally, I'm still on the fence about it. I think if it's a one teen or you know, like a brother sister or something, and it's okay there, I think you're going to be okay for the most part. But if you're starting to get into a group of kids, that's where it's just going to become chaos.
That's the problem.
So
that's
the thing that that's the thing. And you know, if there's a multi-stop where you're picking up more people, that's where it becomes a big problem too. So because you know, if it's like one or two kids, I think for the most part it's going to be okay.
Like you said, two siblings from one house, I'm fine with it, right? But the problem is the teen that's ordering this trip on their family account, which they have to, and the parent will get notified, right? And it's audio recorded, and automatically the parent can get in touch with the driver over the phone, not just through the app. And the parent is watching, follow my ride thing that they have. Okay, all these are good things, except that, and the teen cannot change the destination. All good things. However, the teen can add stops. If it's like you said, brother, sister, same siblings from one house, I pick up, take them to school, whatever it is, okay, I get it. But if a teen at 3 a.m. decides to turn this into a Uber pool, orders the trip on their family account, then goes, picks up another friend, then goes, now, you know what the problem is? That one kid that ordered the trip is under the family account. But everybody else that's about to get in my car, I have to make sure that they are 18 or older. See, there is like a hybrid or mix happening here. One kid that's ordering the trip is in the family account, but then you cannot, as a driver, pick up kids after that. You pick up the teen in the family account. You have to make sure that they're not under the age of 18. So one kid in the car is on the family account. The rest are under the age of 18. You're taking a huge risk. Because if that was a regular Uber X trip that you showed up to pick up and it was underage minor, you would cancel and move on. Now you're creating friction between that family account holder and yourself because the teen wants to pick up other teens, right? And it just does not work. I don't want to do it. I don't want to open myself to any risk whatsoever. So,
yep, exactly. There's a lot of potential issues there. So let us know what you think about Uber Teen. Have you been taking rides? How's your experience been? Let us know. And, I think the only way you can really make a good decision is making it informed. So you might have to try a 18 ride out just to see. That's what I've said. So it's one of those things that, like I said, I'm still on the fence about, because if it's one or two, if they're probably not going to create problems at that point. But if you have the group of them, that's where it becomes probably very problematic.
Or you can do Uber Teen during daylight hours. I don't want any teenagers in my car after dark. I don't. Okay, you can take them to school, maybe take them to soccer practice, whatever. But I don't want any kids in my car past midnight, even in 11, 12. I'm just not going to do it. So toggle on, toggle off. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about Lyft Lux sunsetting and Extra Comfort. Let's talk about the fares. Now we have some knowledge about what the fares are going to be looking like, especially since it's been out, because they announced it a little over a week ago, almost 2 weeks ago, I believe at this point now, where it's starting to roll out. It's starting to sunset. It's in between. So some markets will have it, some don't. There's some weird changes and stuff. So it'll roll out. Lux drivers, you're not going to be happy. Regular drivers who now qualify for Extra Comfort, like Sergio, and if they bring it to my area, myself, we're going to like it. Now, the other side of the coin, if we had Lyft Black here, I should qualify for it because I have a black car. I have leather seats. I have, Extra Comfort.
No, you could
Black
qualify
XL.
for Lyft Black XL. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's
but unfortunately, we don't have these premier services in our area. Well, but I do think they say Extra Comfort is only going to be in certain markets, but I really think they're going to expand to wherever Uber Comfort is, which is pretty much in every market. So I think it's going to happen for all markets. Don't quote me on that yet, but
on Halloween, Chris, on Saturday, 70% of my pings were Extra Comfort.
Oh, nice.
And the ping is coming in as Comfort, but you can, and literally 70% were Comfort. And I'm going like, shit, they may have cracked the code, but they created a very, very large crowd of unhappy drivers because they all invested in high-end cars to do Lyft Lux, and they got their feet chopped off now. They literally have. And if your car that you bought, let's say you bought a Tesla Model Y for 50 grand to do Lyft Lux, and it's not black, and you're screwed. Meanwhile, a Corolla, 2019 Corolla, is on the Extra Comfort platform. Now you have to drop from Lux with a Tesla Model Y to do regular or Comfort trips, which are nowhere near paying what Lux was paying. Now,
let's take a look at the rates between all three.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, this is, the Lux rates are before Lux was eradicated or gotten rid of. So this is from my app again. Now, this is the funny thing. In the Lyft app, there's still a rate card, Chris. Isn't upfront fares without a rate card?
I don't know.
These are from my app from like a couple days ago. I'm going like, why is there a rate card if there's no rate card? But
I
there
don't
were.
know, but I like the rate card, and I think what
So
we
do
should
I.
be doing is looking at the trips that we've all been taking and look at our rate cards and see what the difference is. Because if they have the rate card there and you're getting paid under, wouldn't that cause some sort of issue
Yeah.
where maybe you
Well,
should actually be getting
I think
reimbursed?
most trips are paying under. So
Well,
they
that's
left
what I'm
it
saying.
there.
Shouldn't it equate out to what you're getting, what you should actually get paid because
Yeah.
of the rate card? Because I thought the rate card
Yeah.
actually supersedes upfront fares,
I guess, but
unless it's
what's going to
over.
happen now is that there's a screenshot of it in the inner web. Here they are. This is from my app. So before upfront fares, that was my rate card in LA, and it still is 262 people. You're seeing that minimum rate correctly. 80 cents a mile and 13 cents a minute was my mile and minute rates. Then on the right side is the Lux rates. Okay, 375 base charge. Look at the difference, Chris. $1.81 a
Yep.
mile and 30 cents per minute with a minimum of 675. So the minimum is more than twice my minimum on regular standard Lyft. Per mile is literally double and a half, almost, right? And per minute is more than double, right? And that was Lyft Lux, and that's why people buying these high-end cars, getting under car notes and with payments and shit. Now they died because the one in the middle is Extra Comfort, as you guys can see. And look at those pitiful rates, Chris. Compare.
Yeah.
This is
So the
LA
base,
rates, by the way. This is LA rates. Everybody's rates are going to be different, but the haircut you're getting
look up
from
in your Lyft app, and you'll see.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, you're getting a base charge of 79 cents, so that's $3 less than Lux, and
yep.
obviously 79 cents more than Uber. I mean,
Yep.
than regular. The per mile is 95 cents, which is just about.
Half.
It's actually not half, but it's a
Almost.
little less. So it's like 48%, 45%. So 95 cents to $1.81. But it's still 15 cents more than the 80 cents. So again, if you now if you're that Corolla owner and you qualify and you start seeing these comfort, you're gonna like it. You're gonna be like, oh, this is a nice little boost.
Yeah.
If you're a Lux driver, whew, you're gonna hate it. Same thing with the per minute, 15 cents versus 30. So that's half of what the Lux was, and it's only 2 cents more a minute for regular over. So yeah, that's a huge thing. One thing to note too that we didn't talk about is the maximum rates. Make sure you pay attention to that. Most rides will never hit that maximum rate, but just pay attention because they will not pay you for anything over the maximum. They have implemented something where a ride cannot actually exceed the minimum, or I'm sorry, the maximum thresholds. They won't allow it to complete. There are ways around that. I'm not going to talk about that, but I don't want to give people that idea on how or what to do. But just pay attention to those types of things. So if you think that it's going to start hitting that max point, just pay attention because you don't want to start driving for free at that point.
Yeah, from Lux to Extra Comfort is about a 40% haircut. Okay, with time it's 50% haircut. With distance is about 40%. However, like Chris said, if you were just basic standard, 80 to 95 cents is about a 20% increase in mileage or distance. Again, we're saying distance, but Lyft and Uber say there is no time and distance. So I'm going like, we're just going with the rate cards. This is literally like a couple days ago from my app, and it's all on your apps. I don't know why they left it there. But anyway, and the time-wise is about 10% more. So if you're doing standard, then you're going to get comfort. You're going to like it. You're going to do 10 to 15, maybe somewhere more. And it's just exactly like, again, the copy of Uber Comfort, right? Uber Comfort pays about 8 to 12% more than regular X. So they created this category. But if you're a Lyft Lux driver specifically, or only Lyft Lux driver, I mean, I don't know. I feel bad. I mean, 40% is huge. It's a huge haircut. And why would anybody with a Tesla or whatever, a nice car, BMW or whatever, drop down and do standard and comfort now from the rates that they were getting? Now, the lucky ones who drive black cars can move up now, which I'm hearing is working a lot better, to Lux Black, which pays even more than Lux, obviously, if the car is black. But if the car was not black, you're going to be forced to do standard and extra comfort with your high-end car. And I know you're not going to like it. I mean, these are garbage fares. And but look, there is a customer for Lux. There was a customer base, high-end customer base for Lux. When they ordered Lyft Lux, they knew they were going to get a nice car. Now a Corolla is going to show up, or a Sentra is going to show up, Nissan. They're not going to like it, right? So they may pay a little bit more. It's not that much. Move to Lux Black. So next time, if you're going to do, again, you have no control in this, okay? I'm not suggesting that or recommending that. But if you're going to go buy a car now to do high-end stuff on Uber and Lyft, make sure it's black. Then you can do Lux Black. Like if you bought a $50,000 white Tesla versus a $50,000 black Tesla, you can move up to do Lux Black now and you have no worries. But the guy with the white Tesla, which I know Kyle has one, is now forced to do standard and comfort, which is 40% to 50%.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. If you have that one thing, though, that you could potentially do, you could wrap your car and make it black. It's possible. Some wraps are, but I mean, you could do what is that, Hydro Dip? You could do a couple of things where it's less expensive, and then when you want to take it off, you just peel it off. It'll also protect the paint and protect the car, the exterior. So
I don't know how
there are things you could potentially do where you don't have to get a new car. So if you are in Lux, you just got to make sure. But the other thing too is if you qualified for Lux and you don't have leather seats, that you can't really change. As long as you have leather seats and your car is black, well, then you could potentially, put in a new car and say, hey, my car is now black and qualify. That could be an easier fix, a little bit more cost effective.
But overall, it's a big hit. It's a big hit.
Yeah. Overall, it's a big hit for if you're Lux only. But if you can try to get to Lux Black by, doing something to your exterior and making it black, hey, try it.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, you may have to take a hit when it comes to making your vehicle black, but you're still going to get the higher end, and Lyft Black does pay better than Lux did. So
for sure.
There's that good stuff there.
Now I understand why a lot of Lux drivers are up in arms and they're pissed. I mean, there's a huge community that's pissed. And and I do understand it. I mean, look where they are. 40% haircut overnight, literally. Like, again, it goes to show you have no control. Don't go buy a new car to do rideshare, people. Don't. The biggest mistake you can make. Don't. Okay, there you go.
All right. Well, one of the things that we had mentioned when we were talking with Alex was the Uber and Waymo inking a deal and coming together. They had plenty of issues and problems before. We don't need to talk about that, but if you do have questions, just go look it up. A lot of craziness there. Let's just say it's very similar to Uber and the taxi. So if you know that story, you probably know a little bit when it comes to the Waymo. There's definitely some clear differences, but overall, it's very much similar. And they just recently inked a deal to work together. And that was mentioned with Alex with a couple of things. And he's going to be talking with, who did he say he was talking with tomorrow's podcast?
Waymo CEO tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. So, or co-founder.
Please go watch it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, man, these people were in lawsuits, and I'm talking massive lawsuits because supposedly one of the Google people, one of the Uber people who was ex-Google working on the Waymo cars, took a lot of technology and went to Uber and got busted. And then they sued each other for hundreds of millions of dollars when Travis was around, Travis Kalanick, and then they settled for like $250 million or $260 million in Waymo's or Google's favor, Alphabet's favor. And that went away. And then everybody, I'm thinking like, yeah, well, they will never get together. And look at this, just like Chris said, Uber is putting cabs on the platform now. But you know what, Chris? I said, I think this is a pretty good analogy. Uber is like the best bookie on the planet, bro. They're not taking any risk by putting Waymo cars. It's not their cars. It's not they're not going to maintain it. They're not going to charge it. They're not going to do shit. They're just getting their cut. You know what I mean? This 10%, 15% cut. That's added to the platform. And now they're in bed together. And you can actually order it on the Uber platform. You don't have to download the Waymo app. I have the Waymo app downloaded. But you can now, I think this is in, in Phoenix, Arizona. If you order an Uber, you can specifically order a Waymo, or even if you order an Uber, a Waymo could show up. Okay? So, I mean, it makes strange bedfellows, but that's what they're doing. And Uber goes, I don't mind. It's another 300 cars to my supply, right? Is it going to hurt the drivers in Phoenix? Probably not, right? In overall oversaturation. But yeah, there they are. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little interesting to see, especially if they roll into other markets. They bring the cars into other markets, which I mean, are they still operating in California and San Francisco?
Yeah, Waymo stayed clear out of the cruise troubles. It seems like Waymo definitely has better technology. Waymo actually is in LA. They offered for a week. What they're doing like a Waymo AV tour. They're offering free trips. They offered free trips for a week in Santa Monica, which is a really busy area in LA. So if they're managing that traffic, kudos. Now they're doing it in Hollywood, then they're going to move to Culver City. I'm going to catch one. When I'm down there, I have the Waymo app downloaded. I'm going to catch one. It's free trip. Let's see what these things are. But it seems like Waymo's tech is much better than Cruise's tech. So,
well, speaking of Cruise,
yeah, which we talked with Alex, right?
Let's talk about Cruise. Yeah, which was another thing that we talked about when it comes to
10x, buddy. 10x.
10x. It sounds like you're multiplying it by 0, because if you're multiplying it by 0, what happens? It goes back to 0. So any number you take, 400 times 0 equals 0.
Yeah.
So,
would
that be? When I saw this the other day, I was laughing my ass off. Oh no, last week. This happened actually already, and I was laughing my ass off. I'm like, oh, it serves you right. Serves you right. You know what? Hey. I wouldn't mind having Kyle come on and talking. But here's the thing. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. No, you know what? I'll tell you what. Make me he has a goal in mind. If he comes on the show, it's simple. I will be as respectful, and I mean, I may push back on some things here and there. That's what we need, because that's how you're going to grow. But I want you, Kyle, to make me a believer on Cruise. If you can make me a believer by the end of the interview, sounds good. So I'll give you anything you need when it comes to that. Make me a believer. If you can make me a believer, we got something there.
But there was a game. What game was that? Like, that call outside help or something. Like you can call a friend, or what was that game?
On a friend,
billionaire or millionaire or whatever. Like call a friend, right? on this one.
You're talking about the game show?
Yeah.
What about it?
What was the name of the game show? I don't know. But you had a chance to call a friend.
Yeah, phone a friend, poll the audience. What was the other thing?
Was it millionaire or something like that?
Yeah, who's the next millionaire or something like that.
Yeah. So on this one, we may have to call a friend, Chris, to get Cruise's CEO on, and that would be Harry. She may have to get involved.
It's simple. All I gotta say, simply, try to make me a believer. If you can make me a believer, we got something. But I was
made Alex a believer. I don't think so. I don't think he made Alex a believer.
I don't know. He was on the show twice, so I mean, it's possible.
Yeah,
I mean, the idea or the technology might be there, but the way it's going about, it's going to take a little bit longer. And
they're doing what
stuff like that.
they're doing what Uber did, right? Initially with Travis, go fast, break things, right? We don't care. We're going to break every law.
Yep.
We're going to, buy everybody, and we're going to slap everybody in the head. It's
Well,
our way or the hard way.
What's his background besides
Kyle Vogt?
Yeah.
I think he was a tech.
Yeah,
He
before.
was in IT. Yeah, IT. He was the founder of Cruise, by the way. And then GM bought Cruise. So, yeah. He was the founder of Cruise.
Okay,
And
so
now
he's
the
a
CEO.
co-founder of Justin.tv. The reason why I wanted to bring this, the reason why, and then Cruise. So the reason why I wanted to know is because, like I said, what I think he is, I think he looks at other people and tries to emulate them. So I think he sees Elon. I think he might see Travis, and I think he might take that and say, okay, this is what they did. I'm going to take that formula and I'm going to run with it too.
That would be like
I think that's partially.
That would be Dara and Steve Jobs. Dara is trying to look like Steve Jobs with the crew neck and shit now, right? So it's like, how they, or the Theranos, Elizabeth, whatever her name was, she's in jail now. She always wore crew necks. They all emulate Steve Jobs.
I was just watching something. And a whistleblower. I think it was for Waymo actually. That said,
there you go.
are we becoming the next Elizabeth Holmes? And for people who don't know that, basically she claimed that her company could like take your DNA and like create this sequence. And I don't know like the whole thing, but it was a drop of blood,
like with a drop of blood from your finger, and you can do everything. I'm more like, that's not good. So, but you know what? To Cruz's credit though, once DMV suspended him in California, because they were spreading pretty fast. They went to Austin, they went to Arizona. They were just spreading like wildfire. They suspended all operations on their own now around the U.S. So in order to reach that 10x, Chris, because now there is 0, so they may have to go 12x, 12x, 12x to get that to that goal, right?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, when you 10x from 0, it's still 0. So if you put 1 out there, I mean, now you could say, oh, well, 2023, we had to, when we ended 2023, we were at 0. But when we started 2024, we were at 400. Well, that's a 400x essentially. I mean, no, actually it's higher than that. It's like a 40,000x or something. The way percentages work, but for real, it's like, no, you know what? I'll give him 100% credit. Once they had a problem in California where the DMV said no more, you can't have these cars on the road, and they lost their license, I will give him 100% benefit that he did take all of the rest of the cars in the country off the road. That I will give you props. You might, some of the comments you may say have triggered in the past, but I'll give you props there. I give props when it's due, and that was something I thought that was due. Because it wasn't allowing the ability for any mishaps or any issues or anything like that. Obviously, I think the legal team came and had a lot of things to say when it came to that decision to pull the cars off, because that's one of the things I think I might have mentioned to you. Maybe it was somebody else when it was where they were talking about in California, but what happens to the rest of the country. Will they do that, or will states look at that? So that's I think I said something like a fine tooth. Now other states are going to look at a fine tooth comb, what California is doing to them possible. So yeah, that's what I wanted to see when it came down to it. And you know what? Honestly, like I said, I give them props. I'll give the cruise area, whether it's the legal department, whether it was him, whoever made that decision, or joint decision to pull the cars off. I think that was good. Now let's see what happens in a few months or so when they try to come back, because they had the problems, where I can't remember if it was Cruise where they had to pull their cars off the road already before a few years ago, where in Phoenix that one woman was hit and killed and they had to stop all operations.
That was Uber.
That was Uber.
Uber's,
okay.
That was Uber's AGT with a safety driver on the wheel.
Okay.
That's after that Uber got out of the business.
I thought there was one where there was a fully autonomous that had hit and killed somebody.
No, there was a fully autonomous one actually last week. There was a fully Cruise. So there was a hit and run, and this lady fell, obviously was hit by another car, which got
Mhm.
away. And this lady got under the car, and Cruz did not stop
And it
and
was
dragged
pinned.
her 20 more feet, literally
Yeah.
stopped
And
on top
then,
of her. And I was like, okay. And then,
yeah.
yeah.
See, the
No, I mean,
problem
look,
with
yeah,
the thing with self-driving cars is they actually might be safer. But the problem is there's the
I
human
think so.
element and the human condition that you may
Yeah,
not be able to account for. If
yeah,
you
I agree.
have all of the conditions in line and all the variables, it probably is much, much safer, but you have to account for the invariable.
Yeah,
And those variables that you cannot account for has
yeah,
to be accounted for. And that's why they're under so much scrutiny and so much public eye. There is so many accidents that happen. There are so many deaths that happen year to year with human drivers behind the wheel.
it's
But
huge.
but the problem is when you're looking at 400 Waymo car or 400 cruise cars, or how many over 100 there are out there,
Yeah,
hundreds. That's going to still get a lot of scrutiny because they are going to be held to a higher standard because there is no driver. It is relying on technology.
yeah,
And they need to look to see, are those variables that you may not account for, are they able to be accounted for with the technology at hand? Or do you have to go to the drawing board and add some more safety precautions in? And what does that look like?
yeah.
So I think that's why everybody's like, oh, I mean, if you're like an AV advocate, oh, well, there's so many more accidents that happen with human drivers. Well, yeah, I give you that 100%. But, again, it's the technology and we want the roads to be safer. And that's what it comes down to, in my opinion, I think.
No, I think they did the right thing, pulling, regroup, and then figure the software out and start small again, and then expand. I mean, I get it, but we'll see. So, Mr. Kyle Vogt, so Chris, gave you the olive branch, so I think it'll be cool for you to come on and talk to our audience. So there you go.
Yep. Or at least try to put some ease at mind, maybe when it comes to if AVs are going to replace. And
No,
the one thing I'm going to push, the one thing I
stop
will
while
push
we're
you
ahead,
on.
man.
No. He can prepare for this. I'll give him the ability to prepare. The one thing I will push on is the comment that he said about banning human drivers in city centers. I will give you the ability to defend that.
Okay.
Don't worry, I'll prepare as well too. So,
Okay.
um, but yeah, no, seriously, if he wants to come on and talk, I make me a believer. That's all I got to say. Make me a believer.
We'll give it a shot, buddy. We'll give it a shot.
All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about the Hertz and EV deal and something that's going on there. So people who are renting or looking at renting vehicles, well, there might be a couple issues coming up.
Yeah, Hertz is pulling back, on all the EV. Hertz said they're going to buy 100,000 Tesla 3s, mostly for the rideshare. Obviously, they want to convert, just like there is a rush in the world now for all fleets to be converted to EV, not thinking that, the charging infrastructure is not there, but everybody, it's like, this is like, oh, I have an Apple, oh, I have this. It's like a cult thing happening now. I'm like, no, man, this is a car. But anyway, so Hertz figured out, that when you buy a Hertz, when you buy a Tesla from obviously Tesla Model 3, and you rent it out to a rideshare driver, that Tesla may come back with 70,000 miles or 80,000 miles at the end of the year. And maybe they did not figure into the costs of replacing and fixing these things. And I'm like, yep, that's what happens when you when you buy a car and rent it to rideshare drivers, and they're going to abuse the shit out of it because it's not their car with unlimited mileage. So Hertz is scaling back, pulling back a little bit. And I'm sure the interest rates have a lot to do with it too, because they were borrowing money at zero and buying these Teslas, and then now they have to borrow at 5, 6, 7% and buy these Teslas. So whoever's renting, your prices, weekly prices may be going up, and their insurance went up anyway. And you could kind of tell because, besides your own insurance, Hertz offers you rental insurance while you're on the spot. They used to be like $50. They pushed it up to $80 a week now. So you could kind of tell this was coming.
Two things when it comes to this article that has me saying. The first one is, It's talk. I mean, it says Hertz pumping the brakes on plans to electrify more of its rental car fleet after EV repair costs came in higher than expected and anticipated. So that goes to show you, okay, are the repair costs lower or higher when it comes to EVs over, a regular gas powered counterpart? And so then the other side of the coin too is if it's the costs that are there, well, that is going to then take into account when a driver like you or me who decide to buy an EV will have to encounter those costs that are going to come on. I mean, what did they think that these costs were going to be, and were they grossly understated, or what happened? So those are a couple of things that I would like to know when it comes to the cost breakdowns of these things, because it could have an impact on if drivers will make the switch to an
Yeah, I
electric
mean,
vehicle
but
over none.
this accelerated, them buying 100 or 50,000 cars from Tesla and putting it for rentals, right? Accelerated that process, because when you're renting a car in 2 years, that car could put on 100,000 miles, right? So
Yeah.
now an average
But that's the
driver
same thing
driving.
as an average rideshare driver. It's going to be the same exact kind of thing.
No,
So
I
if
know. What
you
I'm
are a
saying though is
rideshare
that
driver, you need to look at this article pretty closely if you're
no,
evaluating or thinking about an EV.
no doubt. Yeah. I
And
mean, that's why EV sales actually are slowing down with higher interest rates, and the comparisons are becoming more clear now that maybe
yep.
EVs maintenance costs are not as little as it may be, and not as much lower than an ICE vehicle, right? But what happened is that this accelerated that process. So instead of like doing the
Mhm.
studies over, a million cars, let's say what their maintenance costs are going to be. Well, if you rent it out to a driver that's going to drive it 80,000 miles a year, you're going to get your data a little bit quicker now, because otherwise, if
Yep.
if somebody bought an EV and drove it 10,000 miles, it's going to take 8 years to figure out these problems. But then in 1 year, you're figuring out what kind of maintenance problems you're going to have with these EVs. And renting it out to rideshare drivers will certainly give you that. And Hertz goes, nope, no, we're going to put the brakes on. We're not going to go as fast as we were going, because they probably are losing money on these things. I mean, and the
Oh yeah.
CEO said our fleet, our in-fleeting of EVs will be slower than our prior expectations. And yeah, uh, you know, and also,
I don't know if you had anything more on this side or on
no, I
these
mean,
parts of the
there is one
article.
thing that they said, that the depreciation actually was higher than what they thought. Okay. And in these two
Mhm.
paragraphs, that's what the guy is talking about. Due to the fact that if you rent it to a rideshare driver and he drives like 60,000 miles in a year and brings it back, they did not figure in. And this is the same problem, by the way, Uber had with their own rentals, remember? And then they got out
Yep.
of the business because they didn't figure the cost or the depreciation that was going to be that high. And they got completely out of the business. And Hertz is kind of saying, okay, well, it's the same movie replayed with EVs now. That's what's happening. And
Yep.
so we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah. So either way, I think the issue is starting to become a little more than like you've had the two warring factions, I'm going to say, on either side. You have like the diehard EV enthusiast and activist and advocate, and then you have the people who are on the other side that are like, no way, no how, and then everybody's in between. And if anybody asks a question on either side, they're like, you are like a EV denier or something. And like, I've gotten that. And it's like, no, I'm looking at like multiple facets. If you're so honed in on one little aspect, oh, it's an
Yeah.
EV. Okay. Well, there's a lot more to it than just that. So if you want to call me an EV denier, well, that just shows how small minded
No,
you really are.
yeah, no, I think EVs have their place, but now
Yeah.
some of the kinks in the armor is coming out, so now we're figuring it out
Yeah,
faster.
and I mean, I said this before, I say it again. I think EVs are cool. I like the idea behind them. I don't think the political push should be to have all EV,
Yeah,
because I don't think that is going to be the way forward. I think they're part of the solution, not the full solution.
I agree.
There's a lot of other technologies that need to be developed and mass produced. There's a lot of current technologies that need to fall under that category that I think will all work together
I agree.
until there's that holy grail that we can find when it comes to car transportation, vehicle transportation, and the fuel that is derived by that. I
I
don't think
agree.
it's electricity. I don't think it's gas. I think it's going to be something else, whether it's some sort of fusion or fission. That's probably going to be the option. Fusion would probably be the best, because essentially you could take water and power your car. We've talked about people, or you may have heard about people who had their cars run on water. Where'd that go?
Yeah.
I don't know, but if you don't see me next week, I mean, I never did any technology searching into it, so I'm not a target, but, there's a lot of things there.
Yeah.
But,
All right.
yeah. All right, Serge.
So,
So, we gotta go. I gotta go get the little kids from trick-or-treating.
um,
Sergio, what do you got coming up this week?
this week, I'm gonna drive now. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go leave and drive, do
I
a
might
little
I
bit
might have to
of,
head out for a little bit just to try to pick up the last bit of Halloween and that, but I don't
yeah.
think it's gonna be too busy. I'll have to look at the maps later.
No, I think it picks up about 4 o'clock, in my area, and then goes all the way through past midnight, probably. I'm not gonna do midnight, but I'll probably
Yeah,
drive a
we're
few hours.
closing in at 8, and 8 is the time where, all of the trick-or-treating kinda ends and dulls down. So, again, being a Tuesday night versus Friday night or Saturday night, it's gonna be a little bit different. So,
Yeah,
it probably won't be as busy. Um, but
but you
either
still
way,
make
just be
money.
safe out there, especially in the
Yeah,
neighborhoods,
definitely be safe.
going around the mountains, the hills, all that.
Yeah, thank you for Alex coming on. Please go visit his website. He's awesome. Tomorrow, should we, Abdul is gonna be on tomorrow on Money
Yeah, you
Hungry.
know what?
Abdul is
I think they talked about it on Steve's show last week,
yeah,
so I think we could talk about that. How
yeah,
Abdul, yeah, Money Hungry tomorrow with Kim and Zach, 8
yeah,
p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Abdul from Display Ride is coming on to talk about their brand new product, which, if you're a delivery driver, you're going to really like that.
yeah.
Essentially, I mean, Sergio, you could talk about it
No, I mean,
if
they're
you want.
coming out with a body cam for delivery
Yeah,
drivers, and this may be also for rideshare drivers as well. I mean, you can do it. If you have a look, they have a dash cam display right already that we recommend, but you could probably do rideshare with the body cam as well. It comes with a vest, reflective vest, but I think it's a must for every delivery driver.
yep.
Definitely safer. It's like the one that cops wear, right? And it's gonna upload to the cloud just like the dash cam that we recommend. It's the same
And
price, like 20
not to
bucks.
toot our own horn or anything, but
Yeah.
this is something that Sergio and I kind of had mentioned to Abdul months ago,
To their
when
credit
he came
though,
on
to
to
their
the
credit,
show,
right?
and they took it further, and made it happen. So,
Yeah.
I guess we could say we came up kind of with the idea, or at least helped push the idea along, because this was right around the same time when that driver in Florida, the delivery driver in Florida, was
Yep.
killed and chopped up and not good. So having these types of things with the safety that's in the camera, and the safety vest, I think was awesome to see. So when he sent us
Yeah.
the PDF of it, which they'll show it next or tomorrow on the
Tomorrow.
show. But the safety vest, I think, is really great, because
Uh,
especially at night when you're getting out in and out of your car, people are going to be able to see you.
yeah.
So if you're getting out of the car on the side of the road, people are going to see that. They're going to see the reflection on the vest.
Yeah.
Being able to have that carried right in there, and they're
I
talking
I
about being
think
able
I
to
think I
customize
think
the
it's a
safety vest on top of it. I think that's awesome. So,
yeah,
um,
brilliant, brilliant,
yep.
really brilliant, and it lasts like 8, 9 hours, and you could charge it while you're driving it too. So, you guys please tune in to Money Hungry tomorrow. You'll see it on Kim and Zach's, and he's going to do a demonstration, I think. I think it's awesome. I mean, but you got to give Display Right credit. They came up with this within like few months, and it's new
Mhm.
technology. And I think it's great. And other than that, buddy, I got not much going. Do the usual shit, answer emails, vet screenshots, do some behind the wheel interviews. We'll have a great one coming up on Thursday. Please tune in. Other than
Yep.
that, that's it. That's it.
Awesome. Yes. For me, pretty much, just doing my thing, and then
Now you're
you can
gonna go
check out
trick
my
or
other
treat,
channel.
man. You're gonna freeze your ass now. That's good.
Oh, it's cold. It's cold. They're talking about snow, rain, mix for the kids trick or treating and all
Not
that.
here.
So I'm not
It's 80
sure.
degrees.
Yeah, lucky you. I'm stuck in the cold. I don't know what it is. I'm sure they're bundled up. We made sure that they're bundled up before going out to enjoy. My son, his costume is a dinosaur, so it was already like
Ooh,
kind of warm, but we dressed him up nicely underneath. So yeah, they're out and all that stuff. So
All right.
yeah, gonna
All
be
right, everybody.
interesting to see. But at least I get to collect the dad tax. I'm happy about that. So
Okay.
um, all the good candy that I get to have, and my birthday's Friday, so I'm gonna have my candy on that. So enjoy. And
Candy is good.
yeah,
Free candy is
that
always
being
good. Free candy is always good. You know what I mean? Yeah.
exactly.
And
But
for all the people, by the way, who put the code in the chat, this week no money. Next week, we're coming back with the vengeance. We have the shirt, the money. Pretty soon, we're gonna have Brian Merchant. He may do a book giveaway, signed book giveaway of
ooh,
his latest book. So we'll have a lot of good stuff coming on. Today was a little
you're gonna
rocky,
have to email
rocky.
me. You're gonna have to email me Brian's email so then I can see if I can get a signed
With your
copy
book,
too.
yeah. Well, I got my signed
So
copy yesterday.
Jeff, if you're here, he gave me a signed copy, which was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Nice,
yeah.
nice blurb too. So appreciate that, Jeff.
Oh,
Thanks.
Mr. Kosher you should have gotten the book. I haven't heard back. I don't know if Jeff heard back from you yet, but we got you the book last Tuesday. It's been a week. I hope you got the book, Jeff's book. So if you did, please shoot me an email, Sergio@therideshareguy.com. So there you go.
Yep. And not only that, hey, if you'd like to come on and talk about Uber and some of the things there, we do invite you on. We've always
Yeah,
invited you on, so hopefully we'll
always.
be able to get you on at
Open
some point soon.
invitation. Open invitation,
Open
sir.
invitation as always. But with that being said, also the only other thing, check out my channel, my other channel where we go and check out some pizza places around the area, and not only just around the area, but around the country. We went to Stowe, Vermont recently, and so whenever I'm on vacation, I'm going to hit up other places. And then I wasn't going to do some of the big chains like Pizza Hut or stuff like that or Domino's, but I think I'm actually going to add that in there because it is going to be relevant for the majority of the country that have those areas. And the reason why I changed my mind is because I saw an ad on Facebook from Speedway and 7-Eleven pizza. So that
No,
was pretty funny. But
don't do
yes.
7-Eleven. Don't do 7-Eleven
Well,
pizza.
no, hey, for the show, I think I might, and it's just more content, more fun, and we can rate it and see how well they actually fare compared to mom and pop shops around, because mom and pop shops are always usually a hell of a lot better than chains, because whatever. But we did go to Blaze Pizza, which is kind of a chain. I mean, it is a national chain. There's just not a lot of them like Papa John's or Domino's or anything like that. So, yeah. But head over there, check it out. It's Chris PZA, Chris Pizza. That's the channel. So go check it out, subscribe. And with that being said, be safe out there, especially if you're West Coast or if you're out driving during this time with all the kids running around and going crazy, especially the young little ones who may not be looking across the street and just kind of learning to look both ways to cross the street. So be safe and be careful with that. And go out there, make the money, pay attention to what's going on. If you did make that money this past weekend, that's awesome. But if you need some money and you haven't been able to because you need to pay some bills or something, our sponsor Giggle, you can check them out. Link is going to be in the description below, so you can check them out. And with that being said, be smart, be safe, make that money. We'll see you guys next week.
Thumbs up. See you next week. Be safe. And send me your
Oh,
screenshots.
hey, do we have a guest next week or no?
Next week we don't have a guest.
Okay, so it's just gonna be our two awesome faces.
Yeah, and then we'll do an
stuff that's going
interactive
on.
one next week. We'll have some viewers come on and join us and do their little 5 minutes of fame. So that's it. That's what we'll do.
Awesome. All right, so we'll look forward to that next week. All right,
All
have a
right, see
safe
you guys.
Halloween, everybody.